So odds are, if you're watching this video, you're probably watching a lot of other Outriders videos on YouTube. But the thing that I've noticed with a lot of other content creators and their Outriders video is that it generally just seems all about rushing to a challenge tier 15, getting to the end game, farming it as fast as you can. But the unfortunate truth is most players, and probably 90% of players, aren't at challenge tier 15. Most players aren't even close to getting the majority of the legendaries in the game. They aren't really close to getting endgame builds, and this content is kind of, I don't want to say meaningless, but it's more for entertainment than actually helping you. So in this video, I just kind of wanted to look at some of the things that I've done myself, some of the things that are helping me, some of the things that I find, fun and enjoyable, or at least I think that could offer you something that, keeps you interested in the game. Now, of course, I have gotten to challenge tier 15, but honestly, I don't really spend much time actually playing it. Mostly because I keep switching builds, I keep switching characters. I don't want to just, sit there and farm expeditions for like a week on the same character, trying to get the exact perfect build to, run like 5-minute runs on a, challenge tier 15. It's not really what I'm into. I'm not that interested, right? Once you beat it, that's pretty much it. I beat it. I don't need to prove anything. I'm good, right? But like I said, I like to switch up my characters. I like to bounce between them. And this just allows me to feel a different playstyle, make the game feel a little bit more fresh than just running the expeditions over and over. So what I'm doing that it really doesn't seem like a lot of people are paying attention to is that I'm saving gear for my other characters. A lot of the gear that I got that wasn't really applying to my pyromancer, like let's say I got a full-on anomaly cooldown status piece, just great rolls, everything that a skill build would want in the game. And let's say the second talent was something that would be great for a different class. Of course, the first talent is applied to the pyromancer, but if I just change that, put a different mod on there, then it would be great for any of the other classes. And yes, you can share pretty much all the gear. Of course, you don't want to put a legendary pyromancer piece on your devastator, but there are some universal legendaries that you can do that with. And of course, all the purples, all the blues, all the greens, they're not class specific, just that first talent is. So if you change that talent and you have a good second roll, it'll go on any character, and it's great. It's an easy way to have material for your future characters. So save up this stuff. And of course, another thing that I do that's pretty simple, but some people might not have actually just considered doing it yet, and that's transferring your mods. So if I get a junk piece that I don't really need to harvest the shard from, and the shards are those things that you use to enhance your attributes on your gear. So if you don't need the shards from it, if it's just junk, you're just going to, salvage it for scrap or for, leather or metal or whatever. Put a talent on there that you don't have on your other characters. So like if you've got a bunch of tier 3 mods on your pyromancer or any of your main characters that you're using, put those talents on junk pieces, put them in your stash, and then whenever you go to your other characters, your second or third or even your fourth, deconstruct them and get those mods for those characters. So most of my characters now have a lot of the tier 3 weapon mods. And that's just because I keep putting them in the stash, and then I send them to those characters, they pull them out, and then bam, they have them. Easy. But honestly, the most important thing I can tell you guys is you need to have fun with the game. So if what you're doing isn't fun for you, then find something else to do. Like I already said, I don't want to just farm challenge tier 15 on my pyromancer. I don't want to use the same build over and over again to finally get, like that little bit of, extra power from my build. It's something that I will do probably later as I'm grinding out the game. But right now, I just want to enjoy the game, just have fun. And so because of this, what I've done is, I've experimented with different builds. One build that I've just recently started using is my AoE pyromancer. Basically, it's just completely committed to large radius damage. That's it. And it works incredibly well at clearing out a lot of these smaller mobs. So if you paired this with a teammate, let's say you play a lot of matchmaking, or you just have a friend that you play with constantly and they're always running a, single target DPS build, well, you could use this and help them out, just keeping the trash off them while they focus on the bosses. Honestly, whatever you use to have fun, that's great. Don't worry about what other people are doing or what other people say, this is the build you need to run, because you can pretty much run whatever as long as you have a good cohesive theme to it. And the other build that I kind of, just was goofing around with, and this is incredibly weird, I don't know why I did it, but I turned my Devastator into a sniper. Yeah, I don't know why I did it, but it turned out to be, actually fun. And I was basically just making my way through the campaign with a Devastator who was a sniper. Not something that you'd probably think to do, not something that I would say is best in slot or best in class, but it was fun. It was different, it was unique, and it worked, oddly enough. But of course, the obvious thing is, the game is kind of about the end game and getting all the best loot. I mean, you can't deny it. That's the whole appeal of a looter game. You want to see all of those different colored engrams or shards or whatever they're calling them, just all of those different color crystals on the ground so you can pick them up. I mean, that's honestly what people like to see. When you get a huge pile of loot, you get a little tingly sensation. You're a little bit happier. However, what I've noticed with a lot of this challenge tier stuff, and this is largely due to the matchmaking, and I don't like the matchmaking in this game, and I'm kind of going to explain this, but, stop rushing to challenge tier 15, right? There's no real reason why you need to rush to challenge tier 15. I mean, of course, you see it on YouTube that people are playing it, but it doesn't mean that you need to jump in there. For the most part, I spend a lot of time on challenge tier 13 or challenge tier 14. Or if I'm, testing out a new build or something, a little bit different, I'm not quite sure how it's going to perform, I'll jump down to, challenge tier 12. Or if I'm helping out somebody, I'll jump down to challenge tier 10, whatever. There's lots of reasons why I don't need to play challenge tier 15. But there's some very important reasons why you probably do not want to jump to challenge tier 15. The biggest one is bad builds get worse. What I mean by this is everything that you do is scaled. So whenever you level up your, level 40 gun to level 41, it goes up by a certain percentage. But of course, the enemies go up by a certain percentage. When you start getting into 49, 50, the enemies scale a lot harder than a lot of your actual stats and your attributes on your gear. So if your weapon is only going up by 20% damage, but the enemy's health is going up by 30 or 40%, and you were already struggling, well, you're going to struggle even more when you get to 15. Of course, when you start to struggle, it means that you're getting loot a lot slower because you're, not making through content as fast. And since, everything in the challenge tiers is based on a different time, if you're not making the best time, well, then it doesn't make sense to actually run that challenge tier. Yes, I know that, challenge tier 15 is where level 50 gear drops. But you know what? You can level up everything in the game, so why would you waste your time trying to farm a very slow method of getting, level 50 gear when you can just farm level 47 gear and use all the extra scrap that you get just to level it up to 50 anyway. So right there's no real reason why you need to farm 15. But the more devious thing with the whole challenge tier system, if you are in matchmaking, you end up getting, let's just say it, carried through to challenge tier 15. Now, as a character yourself, you're probably not equipped to deal with challenge tier 15, solo, and in many groups, you're just going to fail miserably. I've been a part of many groups now where I'm carrying the entire team. I'm doing, I would say, 70% or more of the damage. And honestly, that's just not good. I mean, from my perspective as a player, the people that are, rushing to 15 without the right gear because they ended up getting carried through the levels, well, they're, basically setting me back. And of course, they're also limiting themselves from getting the better loot. Now, this is because there's no real way to back down your matchmaking. So whenever you hit challenge tier 15, it is going to try its best to always matchmake you with people who are doing challenge tier 15. And of course, you might get some 14s or 13s in there, but the majority of the attempts is going to be trying to put you into challenge tier 15 matches. Now, of course, if you're not competitive, what's going to happen? Well, people are going to boot you. People are going to kick you out because you're not doing enough damage, or you're not, providing enough support for the team, whatever it is. So if you've carried on with this, using a bad build, being carried through the different challenge tiers, not really, leveling up your character efficiently or properly, not getting the, the proper assortment of different talents and abilities, and using your build in a cohesive manner, yeah, you're going to start to have a lot of these problems. And of course, getting kicked means you're not getting loot. Looking for matches and then repeatedly getting disconnected or, getting kicked or whatever issue you're having with matchmaking, it just gets worse and worse and worse because people just want to stop playing with you. And of course, once you get to 15, it becomes even harder to actually carry somebody who can't do the damage through it. So even if I can do challenge tier 15, it doesn't mean I can carry somebody through it and, deal all the damage that they need to be doing for them. And of course, that's the same way that, I kind of went into it. I didn't want to jump into Challenge Tier 15 and to be completely carried. So I took my time through, 13 and 14, and I grinded the gear that I needed, grinded, some of the talents that I didn't have. I tried to get as many of the legendaries that I wanted, just to be able to make my own build and to be self-sufficient, be able to actually support the team and not just be a carry. Now, of course, when you look at the basic structure of the reward tiers, yes, Challenge Tier 15 looks like it's the best. Obviously, you get a 25% chance at legendaries. So you get 4 chances of 25% to get a legendary if you get the gold. But that's the key issue. If you get the gold. If you are undergeared and relying on other people to get you through it, odds are they're not going to be able to carry you through it. You are going to probably get silver at best. And a lot of the times I've seen plenty of teams get bronze because they just can't get through it, having to carry, one or, God forbid, 2 people that ended up matchmaking who didn't have any of the gear that they should have or any, coherent build that they needed. Now, this isn't me trying to poop on players who don't have enough time to actually get all the gear. What I'm trying to say is, if you rush to 15, if you use matchmaking to try to get you everywhere in the game, you're not going to have much fun later on. You're going to suffer a lot because you're not going to be getting the good rewards. You're not really going to be getting that good legendary chance. You're going to be getting less and less rewards because of rushing to 15. So if you can't do 15 by yourself, there's no point in doing it. There's no point in trying to matchmake for it because you're going to get less rewards as a result. Now, of course, there might be, a unicorn out there that can carry you through all of the, Challenge Tier 15s by himself and get you the top tier rewards. I mean, it's possible, but unless they're really friendly, as soon as they realize that you're not carrying anything, they're probably either going to kick you or just leave the group. Honestly, for most players, it's just going to be more efficient and better for you overall to just stick to lower tiers. And to do this, you're generally just going to want to start the game yourself and then leave it open. You're going to want to have players join you rather than trying to join other players. Now, if your whole goal in playing the challenge tiers is just to get the legendaries, but you're not strong enough to get challenge tier 15 gold, well, then it makes no sense to try it. It makes perfect sense to drop it down to 12, where you have a 10% chance instead of the 6.5% chance or whatever it is. So honestly, if you're getting a bronze in challenge tier 15, or let's say you're getting bronze in challenge tier 13 or 14, it doesn't make any sense to keep doing it. You're not getting the rewards. So stop trying to get them. If you really want to get these legendary builds, if you need this for, higher tiers, drop it down. Go to, challenge tier 10. Take those rewards that you can get. Obviously, a lot of players see the reward, oh man, I could get 25%. That's what I want. And they jump into it. But they're not getting that. They're getting much worse rewards. So be honest with yourself. What rewards are you actually going to get when you run through this stuff? And then stick to that tier. Matchmake for yourself on that tier. People will come and join your tier. And you don't have to worry about being kicked. So there's all sorts of reasons why you don't want to run to challenge tier 15, because it will hamper your ability to, join other players. It will hamper your ability to get the better loot. Once you get stuck on challenge tier 15 and all you can do is matchmake for 15 and 14, even though you're not really providing enough for the team, then of course you're not going to be getting better loot. Make sure you're at a comfortable level. Make sure that you actually have a good foundation for a build, and then progress. Because otherwise, it's just going to be very uncomfortable and it's not going to be as fun for you. Now, of course, another thing to note is just the expeditions themselves. Some of them are good for certain builds, some of them are not. For me personally, I tend to enjoy Marshland Caverns, Stargrave, and the Colosseum. Honestly, the Colosseum I think is probably my favorite. Now, the reason I like these ones is it just feels like I'm not running after enemies all the time. A lot of the more human-based ones where you're fighting the gunners or the guys that are just hiding behind cover over and over again, it can be aggravating depending on your build to track them down. And each enemy that you have to track down costs you seconds. So all the time that you end up wasting trying to track down these guys that are hiding behind cover and refuse to come up, well, it could end up costing you, 5-10% chance at getting a legendary. With Marshland, Stargrave, and Colosseum, the level design seems to be fairly open. It seems to be a lot easier to track down what you're, trying to kill. So not only does this help speed up the process of actually just getting through the mission, it kind of cuts down that frustration where you're just like, why is this guy hiding? Why do I have to track him down? Why do I have to run all the way to the back? And of course, that just makes it not fun when you know this guy or this guy is the reason that you didn't get the gold tier reward. The reason I like Coliseum so much is that, in the beginning, it's a very linear process. So you have plenty of space to just kind of line up the enemy to deal a huge amount of damage depending on your, your skills or your abilities or whatever weapon you're using, or whatever talents you're using. So it allows you to maximize your time there really quickly. And then the middle portion is largely a very confined space, so it's not like the enemy can really get away or, run or do anything silly. They're generally just spawning right there all around you, and it's easy to take them out. The end is a little bit different. It's a larger area to run around in, but the enemies generally just come from the front anyway. So you know where they're spawning from, you can just sit there and, pick them off rather easily. It doesn't seem like it's a long drawn out process where you're just having to run from enemy to enemy to enemy. You have a cluster and you take them out, you have another cluster, you take them out, and then you progress. And because of that, I think it's just a much more fun process than having to track down individual enemies that are hiding in the back. Now, the final thing I want to touch on in this video is your gear mods, so your weapon talents or your armor talents. I've seen a lot of people using rather poor talents for their build. Now, of course, I can't say exactly what every build should run. I can't say if, this is preferential to another one. But what I can say is test out what you're using. With challenge tiers, the great thing is you get to see a complete, damage breakdown of everything that you used. And of course, you can re-roll your weapon as much as you want. So if you, put on a certain talent and you're kind of like, okay, it's okay, I want to test out some other ones, you can do that over and over again. And you can see how your damage actually, scales up against those other talents at the end. So if you pick one talent and at the end of the, the mission total, it is accounting for 5 or 10% of your damage. Okay, that's good, test something else out. And then all of a sudden you put something else on there and it starts accounting for 30 or 40% of your damage. Then you know what? I think now you found a winner. That talent is doing a lot more damage than your other talent was. And for me, this was kind of the case with Shadow Comet and Death Chains. These two talents have been giving me so much more damage than a lot of the other talents that I've tried out. And honestly, please don't use Anomaly Blade. I've seen players use it. It's not very good. It does not provide you as much damage as many of the other mods out there. For one, it's incredibly slow. Two, it's only single target. This just means that you're losing a lot of damage. Death Chains has a really quick cooldown and it deals a good amount of damage. Shadow Comet is a huge amount of damage, pretty quick cooldown, and an okay, radius. But the most important thing I think with these talents is that they just require me to hit an enemy. I don't need to kill the enemy. I don't need to, get a crit on the enemy. I just need to hit them, and it applies. And this means that these mods activate a lot more often than would be the case with something else. It means I can spray and pray, I can hip fire, not have to worry about stuff while I'm running away, and bring down these mods onto enemies. Now because of this, I get a lot more damage out of them. If I had to kill an enemy to proc something, well, that's not good on a boss, right? For example, something like Bone Shrapnel, where when I kill an enemy, they explode. Well, how is that going to help against a big boss? So if you've killed all the ads and you're just dealing with a boss, you're not going to be doing anything with your mods on them. Now, of course, if you're switching between weapons, you might want to have a different set on, one weapon and a different set on another one. But for the majority of my playtime, I generally just use one weapon, and occasionally I have my secondary there for, some sort of unforeseen circumstance. Like I've got, a sniper sitting, way up high, and I just have no way of getting to him, so maybe I'll switch to a sniper to, take him out. But the majority of the missions, I can always rely on having big bosses that I need to kill and being swarmed by lots of little minions. So if I balance it out by having a mod that deals a lot of damage to, one or two targets, and another mod that deals a lot of damage to, an area of effect, then I have a great combination there. I can take out all the minions while I'm still dealing constant good damage to a tougher enemy. Again, something like Anomaly Blades or Bone Shrapnel isn't going to provide you that. They're much more situational, and honestly, there's so many better options than to choose those ones. So use that end of game summary to really fine tune what mods you're actually using. If something's underperforming, get rid of it. Try something else out. It it doesn't hurt you if you've already modded a piece of gear to try something else on that mod. And if you find out that the new thing that you switched to is a lot worse than the old thing that you had, well, you can just switch right back. Or you could just try something else and find something that's even better than the first mod. But anyway, that'll be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. But please remember, just because you see some people on YouTube, just having the finest build in the game on Challenge Tier 15, soloing everything, it doesn't mean that you need to do that. If you don't have a good foundation, you are going to be suffering a lot, and it's going to hurt your progression. It's going to basically just take away your motivation to keep playing because you're just not where you need to be. So take your time, enjoy the game, play different characters, switch things up, use different builds, have fun. That's what games are for, having fun. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.